Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Art of Photography. My name is Ted Forbes, and today in this video we are going to do something that is a little bit different than our normal show. And I want to do a little bit behind the scenes of a photo shoot that I'm working on right now. And this has come up recently. I am actually scheduled to be in New York this week for a photo shoot that I'm doing. And so I thought this would be a good time. Several of you guys have asked if I do more behind the scenes, how I plan and handle photo shoots and that kind of thing. And so real quick, I want to make an announcement and get into the crux of the show. Since I'm going to be in New York, we are going to do a photography meetup, and this will be the third New York meetup that we've done. If you've never been before, please come join us. We have a wonderful time. There's kind of a little core group of people that have been coming to the previous two that come out that I still keep in touch with, and it's a wonderful group of people. Very welcoming if you want to network or if you want to just come out and talk about the show or ask questions or whatever. We'll figure that out. Now, I don't know exactly what we're doing yet, but I do know the date. We're going to do this on Saturday, March 1st, 2014. So that once again is Saturday, March 1st, 2014. Now, if you are interested in coming and you want to know where we're going to be, keep an eye on the website, and that URL is theartofphotography.tv. That is theartofphotography.tv. Probably by the time you're watching this, I will have figured it out. We'll put the announcement up, and you can just go there and check it out. So typically in the past we've tried to do some kind of photo walk thing, and I don't think I'm going to try and do that this time. I think that people just kind of want to hang out and talk and ask questions, and if you want to bring your camera out, there's always portraits to shoot when there's people around. So we're probably going to find a place that has food and something to drink that's a nice atmosphere, and we'll probably meet up midday, so around noon or so. That way we can kind of hang out for a while. So anyway, keep your eye on the website and I'll come back to that. So I'm going to be in New York, and I want to show you guys a little bit of the planning that goes into this, what the job is about. The last time I was in New York was last July. I was up there doing a documentary on an artist named Jim Hodges. And to kind of set the tone a little bit, I want to tell you guys a little bit about my day job and what I do when I'm not producing the show. This podcast is one of the loves of my life. I enjoy doing it. I really love meeting people, and that's why the meetup is important, and I want you to come out. And it really means a lot to me, but unfortunately it doesn't always pay the bills. So I do have a day job, and I've done this for the last 6 years. I am the head of digital media at an art museum in Dallas, Texas called the Dallas Museum of Art. And what my job entails as being head of digital media, I have a photographer who works for me, a guy named Adam, who's a really good photographer in his own right. And a lot of the projects that we work on, they are photography based largely, but digital media encompasses other things. So a lot of that is video based now. A lot of that could be audio based. We do everything from radio ads to sometimes we build playlists for in-gallery stuff. So like, let's say you're in the American Art Gallery, you can actually put on your headphones, hit Spotify, and we've got a playlist put together of songs of the era and stuff that kind of provide a soundtrack while you're looking at art. So it's a really interesting job. I've really enjoyed doing it, and I've been there for about 6.5 years now. So it's been pretty wild, and that's really the job that got me into doing these video projects too. I came from a still photography background and a little bit of coding in media, and video presented itself in there. So what I'm doing in New York is we are actually producing a video for an exhibition that's coming up, and I can't always give all the details of what I'm filming and doing, and unfortunately that was the thing with Jim Hodges last summer, but this one I can. So I thought it'd be fun to do a couple episodes that deal with the behind the scenes of what we're doing on these. The premise for this is we are doing a traveling exhibition that's going to be at the Dallas Museum of Art with a curator we're working with. And it is an exhibition on Islamic art, and the title of the exhibition is Nur, that's N-U-R. And Nur translated means light. And so a lot of these objects have spiritual connections, they have cultural connections, and they all center around this concept of light and how reflective surfaces work and how art as a whole culturally comes from these things. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm working with a curator that we are working with called, her name is Sabiha Al-Kamir, and I've really enjoyed working with her the last couple months. We've had a lot of preliminary meetings where we've started setting up what we want to talk about, what we want to photograph, what we want to deal with. She's very hands-on, but she's an absolute joy to work with, and I'm really looking forward to this. So I'm hoping, now I will tell you this too, the way that I tend to do video projects is it's a little bit of a one-man show, and there's a lot to wrangle. When I'm dealing with still photography, as most of you know, it's about capturing a moment in time. And that is one of the things that I'm the most passionate about, that decisive moment, coming up with this gestalt of a composition that doesn't move, and it's set. When you're dealing with video, as much as I love doing video, there is an added component of that. Actually, there's two. You have the component of time, and you also have the component of sound. And while I still enjoy working with all that, it's just much different. And so what I want to do is I want to show you guys what all the equipment that I'm taking up this week. That would kind of be this first part here. And it is interesting because you are limited to what one person can physically carry across the country. But at the same time, I think it's interesting because when you're trying to cover bases for both still and digital video, how much of that you can overlap. So without further ado, let's go ahead, and I want to do a cut here, and I want to show you guys kind of what I packed up and what I'll be taking with me. Okay, so I want to start with the video element to the rig and talk about the cameras that I'm going to be taking and using and what everything does. And this is basically my video setup. I record a lot of the podcasts this way with this exact setup. And it's pretty easy to move around. There's a little bit of setup required. It's probably not as convenient as just hauling a DSLR on its own, but it gives you more options in terms of what you're able to do with video. And I really think for that reason alone, it's more important to use a proper video camera for stuff like that. And I'll kind of show you my rig a little bit and walk you through. I have a pretty basic Manfrotto tripod. I know this is hard to see, and I'm not even sure which number it is, but it's just one I used with my still cameras for years, and I bought this basic tripod head. It says 391 RC2. I love these creative names they give things. And it's a basic pan and tilt head is what it is. So basically I can get the video camera squared away on here. On the top, this is a Sony FS100, which is not a cheap video camera, but it's certainly not one of the most expensive either. And it's a very versatile camera that I really like. And I just think for my budget and what I've been able to do, it's worked just fine, in fact, very impressively. And so I'll be taking that. Like I said, I normally film the podcasts on these. So the first part of this episode was filmed on that. Right now I'm filming on my Sony 5R, I believe it is. And they're really nice as well, but there's some limitations. But anyway, below this, I have my audio interface. And this is a Tascam. I think it's a DR60D, I believe is what it's called. And this is designed to, it has a tripod mount on the top, so it kind of goes between your camera and the tripod and allows you to record dedicated audio. And you can record up to 4 channels on this. Now, I'm not doing anything that fancy. We're just using a lav mic. I'm not using wireless. I don't need it, so I won't be using it because I don't want to get radio interference on there, something weird. But I do like this unit because it has XLR inputs on the side. And if you're using XLR, that's the balanced, it's the cleanest audio input you're going to be able to get. And audio when you're doing video work is so important. And the main reason is that, you know, when you think about watching video, people will put up with a video if the video quality isn't so good, if the audio is really good, but they will not do it the other way around. If you have great video and bad audio, it's really hard to watch, and I'm sure you guys know what I mean if you've ever seen videos that do like that. So really, when I'm working on production on these things, I like to start with the audio, make sure that's really clean, really tight, and then the video is a secondary component on top of that. So it's just really important to have a dedicated unit. This unit reads off of SD cards, which I like, and it has pretty good mic preamps in there, which basically means when the signal is being converted from the analog signal coming into a digital signal, it does really well with that. They're pretty low noise. I think they sound pretty good for something in this price range. I mean, it's not a $6,000 sound devices unit by any stretch. This is like a couple $100. So I think for my budget and what I'm using it for, it works really well. And I do recommend these. I think they're awesome. You do have to record separately, and you'll mix them later in Final Cut, but it has audio matching capabilities now, which is really nice. And so you're probably wondering, well, if I have XLR inputs on this camera, why am I not using that for audio? And the main reason is because as nice as this camera is, the audio inputs on here are horrible. And I've A/B'd them back and forth. They do not give you the audio quality that the mic is capable of putting in. The preamps are bad, and there's a lot of noise. And so as much as I love this camera, and as much as I am disappointed that they can't put a better audio equipped option in there. I think for the money, it's kind of too bad, but that's the way it is. And so I have to record it separately and put it back together in the end, because really I'm going for the most pristine quality I can get. I don't want to deal with hiss and stuff like that. So it's important to make sure that that's all set. So that is the video rig that I'm going to be using. Oh, one other thing on here too. I do keep the shotgun mic on the top, and this is the one that came with the camera. And basically I need to record audio to this, so I have something to match it to. I will turn it off in the final mix. But this is just basically a track audio, and then I record my dedicated audio that's going to sound much better through here, and then I mix them in the end. The lens on this camera is an old Canon FD lens. It's just a 50mm 1.4. And those of you who watch the show know that I'm a big film fan even to this day. And what's really cool is when I have time and I have the room on jobs, I still like to shoot a little bit of film if I can, just because it's worth it to me, particularly for black and white. There's a look to it that's hard to get you know, by working with digital and post-production. So I still love film. So I can throw a camera body in there and I can still use these lenses. And what's cool about the Sony stuff, including the Sony 5R, is that you can still, all these Sony NEX series, is if you can find an adapter, you can probably put an old lens on it. And I've always loved these old Canon lenses, and for a long time, when Canon redesigned for autofocus, they no longer worked on the Canon cameras. You just couldn't use them, they wouldn't mount. And so what's cool is the Sony stuff has given my lenses kind of a second life in a digital world. And this is the lens I pretty much shoot the podcast every week on. It's just a 50mm 1.4, and I'll also take an 85mm 1.2. if I want to do something with a really shallow depth of field. Now both these end up with a crop factor, much like you would know, because this is an APS-C type sensor. And so this one acts more like 100mm if you're doing the math, or the 85 would double that. So they're pretty long lenses, but I'm not shooting a lot of wide. I might take a wider angle with me, and I'll probably just use the Sony kit lens for that, just because I'm not as picky. But anyway, I do like this setup because it gives my, my old film lenses a second life. And plus, it's really easy just to throw a body in. You've already got the lenses with you. So if you want to do some black and white stuff when you're on the shoot, that option is there. So anyway, pretty much the way this will run is we'll do the video separately than we will still photos for portrait stuff. But this tends to work pretty well. Like I said, I'll take a film camera for that, but for the sake of the job at hand and simplicity, I will probably shoot on my Canon 5D as well. And I think just between all this, it's a pretty simple setup. The only other thing that I have to deal with is lighting, and that is a whole separate case that I have to take. And so if you want to come over, I will show you some of the lighting gear that we are going to take and going to be using. So come on over. Okay, so this is the lighting case that I travel with, and it's just a big Pelican Storm case. They're tough, they're not too expensive of an option, and they're really nice and rugged. In here basically is all the stuff that I'm going to be using with lighting as we go through, and that's really what it contains. And so when you buy one of these, it's just got this pick and peel foam stuff that you can take in and out, and I kind of have this set so my stuff doesn't shake around. But what I have in here are these two ICANN, this is the IB500, I believe is the model number, and I have two of these in here, and you can see I kind of have them staggered. One's below this, it's packed away, and I keep lots of foam around things so we keep things from chipping and bashing into each other. But what I really like about these is if you're going to do video, it's a little bit different than doing just still photography because you can't use strobes really. You have to use continuous lighting. And so what I like about these is these are LED lights. So we'll open the barn doors and I'll show you. They're not very big, but they are pretty strong, and I have two of these that I'll take. Use one as a key, one as a fill. The studio that we're leasing in New York it's actually beautiful, and I chose it because the name of this exhibition is Nur, which translates to the English word light. And one of the things I really want to do is shoot with natural light. Well, with stills, that's one thing. With video, depending on what the sun does during the day and depending on if there's clouds outside and how fast the wind is blowing, your light can change a lot. And so as well lit as the studio is with natural light, I am going to also be using some artificial light if necessary. Now, the reason that I like these lights so much is one, they're small, even, they're very thin. So when this is folded up, you can have two in a road case with all of your stands and everything. They work pretty well. These are LED lights, so they don't generate a lot of heat. You don't have to wait for them to cool down when you're done. You don't have to worry as much about things like that. But the other cool thing is they basically have two colors of LEDs in here that oscillate between color temperatures, and you can blend those together. So this isn't plugged in right now, but it's got a touchscreen interface on the back. Let me fold this down just so I can show you and it'll still be in focus. But you have a touchscreen interface, which is really cool. And so once you turn this on, I can control the dimming of the light, so I can dim it by percentage. There's up and down switches for that via the touchscreen. And then also you can change your color temperature anywhere between daylight and tungsten. And so if you have, obviously indoor lights are about 32 degrees, or sorry, 3200, and outdoors can be much higher, depending on which blue or yellow mix. So you can really dial in what it is to the situations you're in. This makes it nice because you don't have to worry about filters as much. You don't have to worry about trying to get a color reading on the room and the light situation. And so, this is a perfect example of how, it's such a cool time to be alive in terms of technology, because like one person can travel with all this and pretty much do a photo shoot, and it doesn't cost a lot of money and it works very well. The other thing that's cool about these is they both have remote control that they come with, and so you can use this and you can store presets in here, and you can actually dim the lights and you don't have to go over to them, which is kind of nice. So anyway, it makes for an easy way to do a photo shoot. So I'll put that back in here, and I'll show you one other thing here. The other thing that's really cool here, and I just keep these in this hollowed out section here, and I'm just showing this because I think this is one of the keys to making sure everything is successful and on track. But these are just, Case Logic makes these are just neoprene bags. I believe they were designed for little netbooks or little 9-inch screen tablets or something. I don't use them for that. They've got a pocket on the side which unzips, and then the main compartment which unzips too. And I keep the power cable. So each one of these goes with a light. And so what's in here? Well, the mount is in here. The power cable is in here. Everything has Velcro twist ties. And this is really the key to making sure everything goes smooth, that you pack well, you don't forget cables. Invest in some Velcro cable ties because they will save your life. Everything goes in there. It stays in the case with the lights, and I know where everything is at all times. It makes this really easy to tear down and set up really quickly, and everything I need is in here. I've got 2 stands, 2 lights. I might burrow some of this out to put a tripod in just so I can put it in the case, and then I've got my lighting gear in here, and I've got everything I need for the shoot. And so that's pretty much what I'm taking with me. My other camera bag is a think tank bag, and I don't have that packed yet, so I probably will come back and show you guys that later. So there you have it. That is basically part 1 that we're going to do in this series on, you know, basically behind the scenes documentary photography and filmmaking. And we're going to continue this a little bit as best I can. One of the things that's very difficult that I keep mentioning is that, you know, really in this day and age, the technology and the equipment is such that, and the expectations are such that, you know, if you're doing a film, there's still a full crew and caterers, and I don't really work under those conditions ever. What I'm usually expected to do is, for very below budget, haul a bunch of gear by myself and wrangle everything together. And it's not easy to do, but it is a challenge that I'm interested in. And so anyway, with that being said, I'm going to do my very best to film some behind the scenes while I'm there, and we can talk some more about this. So remember, also, come meet up on Saturday, March 1st, 2014. We're going to meet up somewhere. Keep an eye on the website. I will make the announcement there. So once again, Saturday, March 1st, 2014, and the website URL is theartofphotography.tv. That is theartofphotography.tv. So I hope we'll see you guys there if you're in the neighborhood. And once again, guys, it's been another episode of the show. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Until we meet again, I'll see you in New York. Later.